Now to your community focus at 4. It has been 6 days since Russia invaded Ukraine. We have seen the images. More people are dying every day. And there is the looming question, how does this all end?
We're joined live here at 4 by Jim Ludes. He's the Vice President for Strategic Initiatives at Salve Regina University. Jim, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Jim, we spoke with you roughly a week before the invasion started. At that time, you mentioned 2 key factors to keep an eye on: capabilities and intentions. We've obviously seen what Russia is capable of, and Ukraine for that fact. Are we getting a better picture of Russia's intentions?
You know, I think we probably are, and I think that the takeaway is a little bit alarming. When the invasion began, people. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jim. It sounds like we maybe had some technical interference there, but go ahead.
I think that when the invasion began, we had an indication that perhaps Russia was just interested in securing the eastern portion of Ukraine, the Donbass, and pulling it back into Russia. It would appear now that perhaps Russia's goals are more maximalist, that in fact they are looking to bring all, most, if not all, of Ukraine back into Russian governance. And so it's really the idea that Putin may be trying to reconstitute the old Soviet Union with all of the dangers that foretells. But the implications there are particularly alarming because of America's NATO allies, particularly the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, who are part of NATO and are also former Soviet republics, as is Moldova. So those countries, I think, are of critical concern as we think about what might Ukraine, however that's going to play out, what the implications are going to be for the weeks, months, and even years ahead.
Yeah, and speaking of implications, Jim, I mean, over the weekend, Putin put his nuclear forces on high alert. What do you make of that move, and how concerned should people be about a nuclear escalation of this conflict? Jim, I'm not sure if you can hear us. Do we know if Jim can hear us still?
I can hear you now.
Okay, Jim, sorry about that. Sounds like we're having some technical difficulties here, but I wanted to ask you about concerns about nuclear escalation of this conflict after President Putin put his nuclear forces on alert over the weekend. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's concerning. It's not the first time in this crisis that the Russian president has at least made reference to nuclear threats. In his meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron about 2 to 3 weeks before the war actually began, he made a not so vague reference to Russia's nuclear capabilities. He's done it on the eve of war at least 2 other occasions. And then, of course, this weekend, he raised the nuclear alert level of Russian forces. I'm not particularly concerned about the threat of a strategic exchange between the United States and Russia, but I do think we have to be concerned about what Russia's nuclear doctrine says and the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons on the battlefield. But I think before we get too carried away with that, what I think we're seeing play out in Ukraine is a lot of what we saw in the Second Chechen War in 1999, and then what Russia did in the city of Aleppo in Syria in 2016. Basically, they're going to mass firepower, particularly artillery, around city centers, and they're going to lob shells into the cities to really terrify and wipe out the population. There's no other way to put it. This is what Russia has done in urban warfare in the past. They haven't done sort of surgical strikes. They haven't tried to move house by house, block by block. They've just flattened cities. And when you look at the kind of forces that they're bringing to bear around cities like Kyiv, I am fearful that that is where this is headed. The Ukrainians have fought magnificently. Their courage, their moral spirit, their fiber has been tested, and they have responded resoundingly. But there is a quality to the quantity of force that Russia is going to bring to bear. And I am fearful about what that's going to mean, not just for the Ukrainians, but for all of Europe.
Jim, we have just about a minute left with you today. 2 questions on sanctions right now. Are they working? And at what point does that direct impact of sanctions on Russia have a larger impact on all of us around the world?
Yeah, well, we're going to feel the impact of sanctions, particularly as it affects our ability to fill up our cars with gasoline. Gas prices are already up. They're going to continue to go up because Russia, who's a major oil producer, has been removed from those oil markets. But the impact of sanctions is going to be felt very personally and very directly on the Russian leadership. So the sanctions target Vladimir Putin specifically, his foreign minister, his defense minister, the chief of the Russian general staff, and some key people around them, in addition to restricting the ability of the Russian central bank to trade in foreign currency. All of that's intended to squeeze, really squeeze the Russian economy and the people who are the decision makers, so that the pressure will ultimately be on Vladimir Putin. If he wants to get access to the reportedly billions of dollars that he has squirreled away around the world, he's going to need to relent in Ukraine. I'm not sure that that's going to be enough to get him there, but that's the hope.
Jim Ludes, the Vice President for Strategic Initiatives at Salve Regina University, thanks again for your time today.
Thank you for having me.